Time to start putting the siding on. Now, I'm going to do this to make it as weather and predator proof as possible. And what that means, in addition to using salvage material here, is that I've got some scrap that I want to maximize the value of. So this big piece here, if I put it flush to the bottom of this 2x4 and then up, it was going to hit like here. And I didn't really like that because even though I was going to be able to secure it on 3 sides, I would much rather secure it to 4 sides. So right now I have this scrap just kind of tacked up here. In fact, it's not secured by anything. But what I'm going to do is come along here, take these scraps, which are small, and that I've pre-drilled my screws into, and I'm going to do this on the other side so that it doesn't interfere with the siding, but I'm going to put it like this. And then I have a second one that I'm going to put over here. And that should hold this board up just in the event that a bear decides to come along and try to break into this. It won't really be able to do that because it'll be secured into this board, which is part of the structure. So that's my plan. One of many times in life, I'm happy to be more or less ambidextrous. Here's the view from inside with that first board attached. And in the front, I lined it up pretty well with the seam of that board that I just put up. And then it's also mounted fairly flush with the 2x4 that runs along the bottom there. I put probably way too many screws in this, but again, I'm thinking about bears. And ultimately, I'm not going to get in a bear's way if that's what it decides it wants, but I don't have to open the front door either. One side completed. My next side is going to be this wall here because it is not going to involve any hinges. So I'm doing both the walls that don't have any hinges involved first, and then I'm going to come along and do the access to the nest boxes, and the side I'm going to leave open for access for cleaning. I'm going to do those next. So I've drawn my line, and unfortunately, I'm just gonna barely nick that triangle, but I'm cool with that. So here we go. Now, because this side is kind of an odd shape, I am gonna sketch it out. So I have a 48-inch sheet that has a weird corner piece cut out of it, which is ideal because that weird corner piece is gonna land right here. And my dimensions here are 29 inches, which is how wide that sheet I have is. And then it's going to come over 24 inches and then down so that this length is 16 and a half. And then I have 24 inches on each side of this dividing line down here. I just did that to help myself out. But really what I am interested in is the dimensions of the triangle that I'm going to cut off, which is 12 and a half by 24. And the reason for that is because 16 and a half plus 12 and a half is 29. And that's where my 24 being split into 2 is helpful to equal 48. I do want to discuss the fact that before I'm putting these sheets up, I'm starting the screws. And that's so I can hold it in place with one hand and just bang it out in the other hand with my impact driver. One of the indispensable pro tips from those of us who do projects like this by ourselves. As you can see, unfortunately, my measurements are a little bit off, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just additional ventilation and light. One thing that I did was added this panel here to make this little vent slash window much smaller. I could add hardware cloth there, which is what I was kind of playing with down here when I added this strip of wire. But ultimately, I think I'm going to skip that part. The reason being that I would have to also add it at the top there. And I don't really have any intention of doing that. I also don't really think, famous last words, of course, that a predator would be able to access under that lip there. So I'm just going to skip that part. The back of the coop here is going to hinge down and latch at the top. Now, I chose specifically to have it hinged down because I believe that predators will have a harder time getting into it if it goes that direction versus hinging up, where they could just kind of slip up underneath there. So I got this 48-inch strip hinge. It was pretty inexpensive at Home Depot. And the trick with this is to figure out which way to install it. So I installed it in such a way that it's going to accommodate the OSB I'm going to put there and allow it to come all the way down. If I had put this on backwards, that would not be the case. The other thing that I've done is where I put screws straight into my structure here with this strip here, I actually just went straight through the hinge and the OSB into the framing with these screws. And I've just tacked it up for the time being because I've never done this before, and there's a live possibility I might have to undo it and redo it and, you know, all that DIY stuff. So I didn't go crazy. You'll see that there's a hole for a screw about every 2 inches. And I'll probably fill many of those in eventually. But for right now, just to make sure that I'm on the right track, I've got 4 screws in place. So I'm going to cut this next piece to go to the bottom of this 2x6. The reason that I'm going to do that is because I want my latch to actually mount up here to the 2x6 because it's pretty heavy duty, and I want that to be the stationary piece, and then the bit that it fits into will mount to the OSB, and that'll work out pretty well. Now, the one hitch in my giddy up, which I'm very glad that I acknowledged now, is that this peg here extends above the top of the 2x6. That's going to be a problem when I put my board across here to support the roof, my bottom purlin. Not to worry though, because I've figured out that I can just put a corner, like a triangular notch in it to accommodate that, and we should be just fine. Now, what I'm using to go into the structure here are 1.25 inch screws, and those are too long for me to use here, because if I use them here, I'm going to wind up screwing the door to the structure and the hinge will be moot. Don't want that. So I've gone and scrounged around in my tool box slash screw collection, haha, and I have found some of these puppies. Now, these are still a little bit too long, but not so much that it'll be a deal breaker, and I'll take them through the hinge, and they should be just about perfect. The only bummer with these is that they are a Phillips. I don't like Phillips. They're hard to work with. But when the screw is this short and you're going into OSB, we should be okay. If you really wanted to get crazy, you could pre-drill all the holes and it would be that much easier. I'm not going to have the patience for that. And voila, I've got a kind of a patchwork of screws along the top, but that's okay. And it's folding down the proper way and folding up. So now I'm going to put the strip that goes up here, all done. And let me just say, ripping sheets of OSB without a table saw is challenging, but it's okay. Here is the latch I'm using. Now, you're probably used to seeing these mounted like this, but I am making gravity work in my favor. So I've mounted it so that when it's down, it's in the closed position. And then it does take a little bit of work to open it up. And the reason that I want it to take a little bit of work to open it up is because I don't want, again, predators to be able to do that. So I'm going to put one on this side, as you see, and then I am going to put the second one over here. Today I'm working on this side of the chicken coop, and for this one, I had to do things a little bit differently because this hole here is going to be covered by a door that hinges down. That is so we can get in there and easily clean out the chicken coop, but also potentially we could put a ramp down here so the chickens can free range. At any rate, there are some different things I have to do because of that. So first thing I did was I took this panel and just slapped it on here because this is the outside of this nest box. I did not want that to be part of the hinging situation because I didn't want to disturb any mamas that might be in there giving us eggs. And now I'm going to come along, and much like I did on the back side with the nesting boxes, I'm going to take and make a strip along the bottom, just like I did with that one. Then I'm going to attach my hinge strip and then my latches. So, much the same process, just a little bit different because I've got that portion that I do not want to be part of the hinge. So this works really well. And yeah, all secured.